like.
Okay, the night before we're making bread, we take the starter out of the fridge. This starter's been in there for about a week. It hasn't been fed. Always add 1 part water to 1 part flour when you're feeding. In this case, we're going to add 120 grams of water to 120 grams of flour to do a 1 to 1 to 1. Good morning. 9 o'clock in the morning. Our starter was here last night at like 10 o'clock. Now at 9 in the morning, it's doubled in size. You can see all the bubbles inside there. 75 to 85 is a great temperature. Accurate. My sexy assistant is laughing at me. So Steve, stop laughing. All right, so I'm going to tear the scale. Now I need 100 grams of starter. Starter?
You need 200. Starter?
No, I'm doing
100.
1 loaf. Okay, here's my starter. 104 grams. It's going to work. I always mix it in. So, now I'm going to tear my scale. Now I need 475 grams of flour. We're using just on this recipe, just bread flour. It's King Arthur's bread flour. So I'll get it close. Sorry about that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mix this up.
Get it off the scale.
Now this is about the time we're going to start adding the salt. Once we get it mixed a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to throw the salt in here now. And since this is a professional cooking show, I could have put it on here, teared it out, and then added our 10 grams of salt, but I've already had it pre-weighed since this is a professional cooking show. So here's our salt. 10 grams. We don't need the scale anymore. And we mix this, but this is probably all you need to do, right? So we're going to let this sit for an hour, and then we're going to come back and start our stretch and folds.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, TV land. All right, so I'm have my first loaf of bread. I'm making a second loaf. I'm going to do this one where I put the water, salt, starter, flour in to see if salt water is bad for starter. We'll make 2 loaves side by side. Same starter, same everything. The water temperature is about the same. So we're going to see how it affects a loaf of bread. I got my 325 grams of warm water, 75 degrees. Zero this out. I'm putting my 10 grams of salt in here. I'm going to mix it up. And then I'm going to put my starter in. The fear is salt water might inhibit the starter or do something negative. So we're going to do 2 loaves. One with the salt water in the beginning. Then the leaven. Starter is also called leaven. All right, 106. Mixed my leaven or my starter in. 475 grams of flour. Okay, here's our loaf of bread. Everything's in there now. Salt, leaven or starter, and flour. And try to get the dry stuff into the... Before I stretch and fold, obviously I wash my hands. Warm water, leave them wet. Come over to the bowl. This has been about an hour now. You're grabbing the dough, stretching it, fold it, stretch it the other way, fold it. And now see, I did that like 3 times. Now I'm kind of doing like a
Not too much.
typical kind of fold it in.
Way too much.
Little piece there. And it'll look better and better every time you do it. All right, that was 1 hour after we mixed all the ingredients. And then in a half an hour, we'll do it again. And another half an hour, we'll do it again. And another half an hour, we'll do it again. 4 times. I forgot how many times I said that. So.
Go.
All right. Wet hands. Last stretch and fold. A little after 12. stretch, fold, other way, stretch, fold, other way, stretch, fold. It's, say basically, we made this at 9, started the stretch and folds at 10, now a little after 12, we're done. And see how much smoother it is when we started? Kind of like a baby's bottom. All right, this is 2 hours after we did our last stretch and fold. It's 2 o'clock. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's little bubbles forming. It's growing, and they both smell really good. All right, it's 3 o'clock. You can definitely see they're working. Maybe another 2 hours or so. All right. Oh, and the house is about 70 degrees. So if it's, you know, time and temperature. So the warmer the shorter, the colder the longer. All right, 5 o'clock. You can see bubbles.
If I was going to... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. So, this is the shaping part of the bread making. Okay? Now, I do mine very simply. Oh, well, Rosie's cringing now. So I just tuck everything up. You may want to back up a little bit.
I want a close-up of that.
So I'm just kind of pulling everything out. Nobody I've ever seen does this. This is my method. Everybody can laugh at me in the sourdough world. Now, so we're going to put this in here, and the bottom is really the top. So when I put this in the proofing basket, this is going to come out. So this is the bottom. That's going to go in the pan.
Put your hand
Okay,
up.
so that's mine. All right, so we're blessed to have Rosie, world-class bread making Rosie,
Hold my hand.
and do this.
Hold my hand.
And she does this more like traditional bread makers.
No, I don't.
Now what she's doing is she's pulling it apart and looking, and she makes like a little window, and if it stays tight, then the bread's probably proofed well. Yeah, the window pane, see how she pulls it apart, and it doesn't really break, and you can kind of see it. If you pull it hard enough, it will break. But you can see the bubbles in here. So you see how she...
I don't know why I do this.
But this is what she does. You see how my simplistic approach. Remember again, we're using rice flour, but I think you can use just regular flour.
No, okay.
It's not as good though.
No, you don't know it.
All right, so I'm putting these in the fridge. What we'll do is they'll go in there all night. Tomorrow morning we'll start the oven when one of us gets up. Put the oven first thing in the morning, ready to bake. But they're still going through a proofing stage right now because the dough temperature is 70 degrees. They'll slowly cool down, and then overnight it'll kind of almost all but stop. So it's still proofing, but it's a controlled proof overnight. You get a little more soury this way, supposedly. All right, showtime, folks. Our first Dutch oven out. Right in, and then do a cut right across the whole thing. There's a lot of ways you can cut this, but go a little deep. Don't be afraid. Okay, good cut. It's going back in the oven. Put the parchment over it. Uh-oh. Now this is my method. Well, other people's method too. Instead of the razor blade, take scissors. Cut, 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 cut. Back in the oven. And we're going to set the timer for 22 minutes at 475 degrees. There we go. I'm going to put the cook time 22 minutes.
Wait a minute, where we go?
It's only been 2 minutes. I want to look, but I can't. So it's like a expecting father just waiting for his baby.
I didn't get that.
I'm so excited. This is the big reveal. Take it off. Ooh, look at the bread. And then we put it back in at 450 degrees. 450. And we're gonna do that for 21 minutes. Okay, so we're checking for temperature. And Rosie's got this thing right next to it. And it should be 206.
It'll be higher.
Here. The first one measured. Okay, so here's out of the oven, pull the parchment out, and we'll reuse these parchment papers. Bottoms have a slightly dark brown. This one's a little overdone,
No, it
not
isn't.
too much.
Fine.
So you can see the lines on here from the basket. They were both scored slightly different. And they may have come out different because this one was a salt water loaf and this one was done differently. So this one may have been underproofed.
No, it's just
And
the
we'll
way.
see, and we'll see when we cut it open. But see how it's got a bubble there and that's coming out? We'll see. One other thing, these loaves are hot. It takes about an hour or so before you can cut them. So we'll be back in an hour, we'll cut them open and show you what the inside looks like. Okay, it's cooled down. It's 12 o'clock now, so it's quite cool. Good time to cut. Let's see how this looks. Okay, that's a pretty good crumb. Couple big holes. Not bad looking. This is the one saltwater loaf that I shaped.
We're not cutting the other one.
Are you ready? Okay, so this is the traditional loaf, how we make the first one we made, and Rosie, we sliced this with a razor blade, and Rosie shaped this one, and we'll see how all that. This crumb maybe looks a little better, but they're similar.
Very similar.
The bread experts can comment on this all they want, but they're both good loaves.